Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the. Let's get this. All right, well, welcome to the Mikestand. Today, of course, is Thursday, November 6th, 2025. I hope everybody's having a good evening thus far. Of course, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions for you. Hey, Eric, I saw your earlier comment here too. Oh, Mike, hope that you're. Well, I'm glad you're here, my friend. Howdy, Mike. Hey, so since we do have at least one other person here already, I guess I'll go right into what we're going to get into tonight. So I've got three articles I'm going to go over from MeTV Tunes. So among those, of course, we're going to learn a little bit more about the Little Troll Prince because I believe MeTV Tunes will be showing that movie for the first time on their channel, the Little Troll Prince, this weekend as part of their tis the season for Tunes programming block that's over the next couple months here. Then when I see an article about the cartoon evolution going from Egghead to Elmer Fudd, we'll see how Elmer evolved, as it were. Then we're gonna find out why Nicole Jaffe loved playing Velma. So Jinkies. Nicole Jaffe, of course, who was the girl who played Velma on the original Scooby-Doo. Along with that, of course, once we get done with the articles there, we will get caught up on all the latest in wrestling, look back to last night's Dynamite as they prepare for for this coming Wednesday's Blood and Guts view, and they're building towards Full Gear on the 22nd. Look ahead to tonight's Ring of Honor show, and then we'll wrap things up with this day in Neat history. With that all being said, why don't we go ahead and get into the articles here? One last friendly reminder before we get started, of course, so you guys can help out by, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. That goes for both my YouTube and my Rumble viewers. You guys can feel free to engage as much as possible. That'd be great. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and start getting into this then. All right, so here we go. Into this first, the all-star cast of The Little Troll Prince. Where have you heard that voice before? Article published yesterday, November 5th, by MeTV Tunes staff. So there's a picture, of course, of the Little Troll Prince movie there. Of course, this, from what I understand, this will, of course, this movie will be shown this weekend as part of the season for Tunes programming block from MeTV Tunes. So let's get into this. The Little Troll Prince is a hidden gem of a Christmas cartoon. It's a story about Blue, the crown prince of the trolls, who just doesn't fit in amongst his own kind. He has a heart full of love, but the trolls love to hate. Okay, quite a Boo. The Boo. Boo accidentally finds himself on a journey to the world of people where he learns about love, kindness, and the true meaning of Christmas. It's a rich story filled with fun songs and meaningful lessons. But what is most impressive about the film, is its A-list cast. The cast is stacked with A-listers from the classic television world, as well as some of the most accomplished cartoon voice actors from the golden age of animation. Let's take a look at the cast and see what other works you might know them from. All right. Danny Cooksey, Crown Prince Boo. Danny Cooksey has an iconic career both on and off camera. His voice acting roles include Stoop Kid from Hey Arnold, Milo Kamatani in Pepper Ann, and the voice of the titular character in Dave the Barbarian. Also, of course, he's also provided the voice of Francis F. Stone, Hot Streak in Static Shock. Let's see. I also know from what I remember too. He also provided the voice of the villain in Shaolin Showdown as well. So let's see. Amongst many other roles in iconic 90s and early aughts cartoons. One of his first acting roles ever was playing Sam McKinney in Different Strokes. And you see him right there. If you guys ever watched Different Strokes, particularly towards the end of its run back in the mid 80s, it ran from 78 to 86, I believe. So if you remember watching it, as Gary Coleman got older and Arnold wasn't quite so cute. Now Arnold was stepping more into the role of the big brother role, that was formerly done by Todd Bridges' Willis character. Whereas Todd Bridges played Willis, the big brother for Gary Coleman's Arnold. Gary Coleman's Arnold now played the big brother for Danny Cooksey's Sam McKinney. So, but yeah. So the kid who played Sam in Different Strokes went on to be quite a prolific voice actor of the 90s and early aughts, as they said. Vincent Price, King Ulvik, Greenhead. So one of the charming points of this movie is that many of the characters have two heads, and each head has its own voice actor. Vincent Price lent his spooky voice to Boo's father's green head. Vincent Price, of course, known more for his horror works than anything else, even though also live action. Let's see, I think he played. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember if he was Egghead or one of the Mr. Freezes in the 60s Batman. I know he had one of those two roles. I just don't remember if it was as one of the three Mr. Freezes or Egghead. I think it might have been Egghead, but I'm not 100% sure. And also, aside from this role, Vincent Price also had another significant voice role as he portrayed the voice of Vincent Van Gogh in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo cartoon. So, where of course was starring opposite of the likes of Casey Kasem, Heather North, Don Messick, among others. So playing opposite those characters. And again, feel free to comment and or ask questions if anything here grabs your attention. Oh, and I think I mentioned this already. Of course, Vincent Price was also known for his roles in some he was among some of the great horror greats as well, alongside the likes of Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, and Christopher Lee as well. So had a long history in that genre as well. Jonathan Winters, King Ulvik, Tanhead. So King Ulvik's Tanhead here. Most of Jonathan Winters' work in animation involved voicing Grandpa Smurf in The Smurfs and its TV movies. However, in this movie, he brought the second head of Boo's father to life. And well, he also did have another guy who lent his voice to Scooby-Doo as well, as he had, I think, at least one. I know he had at least one, maybe two guest spots on the all-new Scooby-Doo Mysteries in '72. The one that came to mind most is he was his friend Grandma Frickett's chicken fricassee or something like that was being haunted, and he helped to solve that mystery. So Jonathan Winters, of course, back in the '60s and '70s, a pretty well-known comedian and voice impersonator. So, anyways, moving on to the next. Don Knotts as Professor Nidaros. The legendary Don Knotts needs no introduction. He has a brief guest role as Boo's teacher, Professor Nidaros. He runs the Sinister School and sings the song Sinister School, which covers all of the twisted beliefs of trolls, including the Trollodin rule, do unto others before they do it to you. Now, Don Knotts, everybody, of course, we know. I think most people know Don Knotts more for his comedic live action work. Of course, Barney Fife in the Andy Griffith Show, Mr. Furley in Three's Company, but he also, of course, lent his voice to cartoons. This movie for one. And again, another one of these guys who lent his voice to the Scooby-Doo franchise during the new Scooby-Doo movies as well. So, also he was the incredible Mr. Limpet as well. So, quite a career for Don Knotts there. Let's see, Cloris Leachman, Queen Serena. One of the few single-headed characters in the film was voiced by Cloris Leachman, who acted in over 200 productions, including Lassie, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and The Facts of Life. Yeah, she in essence replaced Charlotte Ray's character, Mrs. Garrett, as kind of the school headmaster late in the Facts of Life seasons. Once of course, Blair, Joe, Natalie, and Tootie kind of were adults and were like kind of teachers there. William Christopher and B.J. Ward, Bjork and Mrs. Bjork. So the chaplain of MASH teamed up with a voice acting legend to play some friendly gnomes, Bjork and Mrs. Bjork, to welcome Boo to the kind, loving world of gnomes. William Christopher's only other voice acting role was playing Angel Smurf on the Smurfs, and I didn't even know that one. And B.J. Ward notably voiced Jaina and Wonder Woman in Super Friends. Okay, so yeah, William Christopher was Father Mulcahy in MASH, probably his most recognizable role of his career. B.J. Ward, aside from the ones they mentioned there, Gina and Wonder Woman in the Super Friends franchise, she also, of course, was Scarlet in the '80s G.I. Joe cartoon. She was Princess Ariel in Voltron. I think she eventually did take over the role of Velma and Scooby-Doo in I think the 90s or early 2000s, somewhere around there. So she's been around quite a bit too. Let's see. Yeah. So anyways, let's see. And we continue on here. Let's see. Amy Foster, Christie. This one's probably not as well known. So if Christie sounded familiar to you, that's because she's voiced by Margot Kramer from Punky Brewster and Holly from Pound Puppies. So Amy Foster, who's probably most people remember from her role of Margot Kramer, Punky's kind of more affluent friend, as it were. In Punky Brewster, and then she also voiced Holly in Pound Puppies as well. So Prague, Neil Ross and Frank Welker. Oh, two voice acting legends right there. Prague is Boo's brother, and his two heads were voiced by voice acting legends Neil Ross and Frank Welker. Ross lent his villainous voice to characters like Green Goblin and Spider-Man, the animated series, and Doctor Doom and Fantastic Four. The animated series, Frank Welker is best known for his work as Fred and later Scooby in the Scooby-Doo franchise. And of course, among some of the other roles some of these guys played, let's see, in the case of Neil Ross, he played a number of voices on Transformers. Well, okay, so both these guys, a number of voices on Transformers and G.I. Joe. Among the voices in Transformers included Bone Crusher and Hook of the Constructicons, Snull of the Dinobots, Springer, season 3, the Triple Changer. Let's see. What else did he? I know Neil Ross has been around quite a bit. Let's see. In G.I. Joe, I believe he was like Dusty and Shipwreck in G.I. Joe. And then Frank Welker, they mentioned him, being, of course, Freddy and Scooby-Doo in the Scooby-Doo franchises. He was Bronx in Gargoyles. He was, of course, in Transformers. He was, of course, Megatron, Galvatron. He was like about half of the Decepticons in the first season. He was Megatron, Soundwave, all of Soundwave's cassettes, whether they spoke or had vocal effects. Skywarp, and that was just the first season Decepticons, basically the original came to Earth. And then, of course, aside from that, he also voiced, of course, Trailbreaker and Mirage as well. And then, of course, in G.I. Joe, I believe he was Flash, I believe, in G.I. Joe. Flash. Let's see, he was Torch as well. So again, these two guys are, and I mentioned Bronx from Gargoyles as well. So, anyways, moving on to the next one here, number 9, Bort, whose voices were provided by Rob Paulsen and Laurie Faso. This might make your head spin, but Boo's other brothers' heads, voiced by Rob Paulsen and Laurie Faso. Paulsen is known for voicing Donatello, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and has performed in over 500 productions. Faso voiced Skydive and Rampage in the Transformers, and has provided additional voices like the Snorks and the new Yogi Bear show. Yeah, and just so you guys understand, Laurie Faso even though Lori, we typically, with that spelling, we typically think of as a female name. That's actually a guy, believe it or not. Rob Paulsen, of course, aside from Donatello, he was, I believe, Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. Let's see, in Transformers. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. In Transformers, he was, he was, of course, Slingshot and Air Raid in Transformers, as well as Haywire, the Target Master in the third season. So, so there we go there. Rebo, Michael Bell, another legendary voice actor. He plays the worst villain in this movie, but Michael Bell normally plays good guys. One fun fact about Bell's extensive voice acting career is that he is the voice of Plastic Man. Additionally, he voiced Handy Smurf, Grouchy Smurf, and Alistair Seaworthy, or All-Star Seaworthy, making him one of the only voice actors to voice both Smurfs and Snorks. Yeah, and that's true. Not only that, okay, but of course in G.I. Joe, he was, of course, he was Duke in G.I. Joe in the 80s cartoon. He was Duke in Major Blood. Let's see, in the original. In Transformers, he played a number of roles, including, of course, Swoop, Bombshell, Prowl, Sideswipe. Let me see. One of his probably more well-known live action roles people probably know him from, particularly Star Trek fans, was in the very first episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. He played Ambassador Zorn in the 2-part episode Encounter at Farpoint as well. So, and of course, he's also known for playing Zan, the Zan of the Exorian Wonder Twins on Super Friends as well. So, yeah, another guy who's kind of been around the block a bit. And here's another guy, Stav, voiced by Charlie Adler. Charlie Adler, like Michael Bell, spent time in the Smurf Village, voicing Nat Smurfling and Grog, lending his voice to nearly 300 productions. One fun fact about Adler is that he voiced both Ed and Bev Bighead in Rocco's Modern Life, and also both Cow and Chicken in Cow and Chicken. Also, he was Lowlight in G.I. Joe. He was, let's see, Silverbolt, Vorath. Let's see, Silverbolt, Vorath, Duros in Transformers. So he's also been around the block quite a bit. So, 'tis the season for tunes. Watch MeTV Tunes, 'tis the season for tunes, on MeTV, Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific, and Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific. These will be blocks that will be running through December. Hey, if it shows, though, thanks for popping in. Friendly reminder to everybody, of course, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So now moving on to the next article we're going to do for tonight here. We got some more cartoon greatness. Where? And we'll get to the next one. Some cartoon evolution we're going to talk about here. Cartoon evolution from Egghead to Elmer Fudd. Let's explore Elmer Fudd's origin story. Article posted yesterday by MeTV and staff. So, yeah, I know we might have done this one before, but since I saw it, I figured might as well just go back to it again, real quick, because it looks like I don't think they went through as deep this time as they did before. But, anyways, this one's more all text before they actually did. So Elmer Fudd lives in cartoon history as a bumbling but beloved huntsman armed with an iconic speech impediment and a reckless desire to hunt Bugs Bunny. But as a character in the Looney Tunes universe, he didn't start out that way. Many animation historians point to Elmer's origins to an entirely different character, Egghead. Now, the Egghead incarnations are more to the far left there, the first two appearances, and then, of course, we get probably the most famous Elmer that we see in the middle there. Oh, and then the upper right-hand corner, too. That's another version of the Egghead version. And then we have Fat Elmer there, and that scene, I think, is from the Wacky Wabbit. All right, so Egghead's first appearance was in 1937 in the 1937 Tex Avery short Egghead Rides Again, where Egghead, a wannabe cowboy, mails himself to Barnum Ranch in Wahoo, Wyoming. The other cowboys give Egghead a tryout to join their outfit. He fails at most of the tasks until he has to chase an escaped calf back into the ranch. He giggles and stumbles his way to success. This version of the character is much younger and with a sharp, slightly raspy voice more like Daffy Duck than Elmer Fudd. Egghead also differs in appearance from Elmer. He has a big bulbous nose. You can kind of see that there. Clownishly large feet, and is very short compared to other characters. But like Elmer, he is bald underneath his comically large cowboy hat. At the time, most Warner Brothers cartoon characters were one and done, but Tex Avery decided to bring Egghead back for Daffy Duck and Egghead. In this short, much like Elmer, he's hunting Daffy Duck. Also like Elmer, he shushes the audience because he's hunting a duck. In this short, Egghead's voice is more mellowed out, and he has a Mo Howard style black bowl cut. So that one at top left right there, the top left right there. Let's see. Egghead ends up in many of the same scenarios we later see Elmer go through in the rabbit season, duck season style shorts. The animal being hunted regularly outsmarts the hunter over and over again, and the chase continuing even after the short has ended. Most of the controversy in the Egghead Elmer debate stems from Little Red Walking Hood, another Tex Avery short. That places the classic Little Red Riding Hood story in the 1930s with a flashy wolf driving a big yellow car. The short premiered between Egghead Rides Again and Daffy Duck and Egghead, and the character is listed as Elmer, but he looks exactly like Egghead. Short, bulbous nose, egg-shaped head. This time around, Elmer wears a matching green suit paired with a bowler hat and whistles for most of the short before saving Red Riding Hood. I think it's that bottom left picture right there is what they're talking about. Let's see. When he finally speaks, we hear another voice change. This time a more goofy, bubbly voice, entirely different from the two previous Egghead voices. Both Egghead and Elmer continue to have interchangeable shorts throughout 1937-38, appearing basically identical and both voiced by the same voice actor, Danny Webb. Now, eventually, when we do get the final form of Elmer, Arthur Q. Bryan is the one who becomes synonymous as the voice of Elmer once we get his final form. But Danny Webb was quite an accomplished voice actor from the Golden Age as well. After 1938's Count Me Out, Egghead is never seen again, and Elmer Fudd, in his green suit and bowler hat, carry on. So did Egghead evolve into Elmer Fudd, or was he just discontinued as a character? Many fans have reached the conclusion that Egghead and Elmer were developed as different characters. They were later merged into just Elmer because they were just too similar, and the audience, parentheses, and maybe even the animators, parentheses, were getting confused. Animation historian Michael Barrier brings up opposing evidence cited in the Library of Congress description of one of the earliest Elmer Fudd cartoons, Cinderella Meets Fella, where the copyright description lists Elmer Fudd as Egghead's brother. Even with this information, Elmer and Egghead, existing as distinct characters, still hotly debated to this day. Also, Elmer and Egghead are never seen in a Looney Tunes short together, which may have led to assumptions that they were one character, and why the distinction between the two characters is murky even to this day. Yeah, they were similar looking, but not exactly the same. Eric saying hi to Fitzjosa there. Yep, I remember those different earlier versions of Elmer Fudd. Alas, it was good to see you, Mike. I do have to go. Have a good evening. Well, thanks for popping in there, Eric. Do appreciate it. Again, friendly reminder to everybody, of course, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. I go for both my Rumble and my YouTube viewers. So, anyway, with that being said, let's get back to the article here. Get back to the article here. Let's see. Elmer's character continued evolving after Egghead's departure, and the biggest change came with Elmer's new voice actor, Arthur Q. Bryan. As animators softened Elmer's appearance to a taller figure with a chin, smaller head, and nose. Brian added complexity with Elmer's new speech impediment. Doing an impression of another Looney Tunes character, Dan McFoo, Brian and Elmer pronounced. Brian had Elmer pronounce his R's and L's like W's. A vocal change secured Brian a job as the main voice of Elmer Fudd, which of course, he held up until his passing in 1959. So, the vocal change. Okay, yeah. This vocal change secured Brian a job as the main voice of Elmer Fudd for the rest of his life, but also cemented Elmer's sound. While this Elmer was so different from previous versions, he still wore the egghead adjacent uniform of a green suit and bowler hat. But he did chase a rabbit, albeit as an aspiring nature photographer, trying to take a photo. This version of Elmer would be the go-to for several shorts, till one fateful classic changed everything. 1940's A Wild Hare gave us the Elmer we know and love today, with his hunting cap, hunting clothes, and gun, and whispering, "Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits. I'm hunting rabbits." Unquote. Finally, after 3 years, multiple voice actors, a controversial character, and some outfit changes, Looney Tunes finally reached classic Elmer. Surely no more changes were needed, right? Wrong. Classic Elmer lasted until 1941, when one more change was made to Elmer's character. That's right, it's time to talk about Fat Elmer. Now, a more heavy-set Elmer with a big belly appeared on screen, modeled after Arthur Q. Bryan's appearance. This time around, instead of being the instigator in a cartoon, Elmer was usually the victim of Bugs Bunny's pestering and pranks. Fat Elmer lasted 5 shorts until audiences begged for the old Elmer to come back, and traditional Elmer returned in Harebrained Hypnotist. From there, classic Elmer solidified his spot as Bugs Bunny's main opponent, both as a hunter, but also as a civilian. Funny enough, Elmer's civilian clothes are often a green suit and bowler hat. So even if Egghead is not the proto-Elmer, Egghead is consistently referenced and remembered throughout Elmer's cartoon history. Watch Bugs Bunny and Friends on MeTV Tunes weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 a.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. And Sundays at 12 noon Eastern, 11 Central, 9 a.m. Pacific. All right, so we got one more article we're going to go through here. All right, so we will get ready to go through one last article before we start to get to the wrestling wrap-up and all that. Last article of the evening here, we're gonna look back why Nicole Jaffe loved playing Velma. Jinkies! Article published today by MeTV Tunes. So there's Velma right there. The smarty of the Scooby-Doo gang. The brains of the brains of the group, as it were. When Fred's plans fail, Daphne falls into a trap, and Scooby and Shaggy run away. Velma Dinkley is the member of Mystery Inc. who saves the day. Consistently in every era of the Scooby-Doo franchise, Velma is the brains of the operation, connecting dots, discovering clues, and most often solving the actual mystery. She couldn't see without her glasses, but Velma Dinkley made generations of nerds feel seen. Before Scooby-Doo, nerds rarely got to be the main characters in cartoons, um, but rather, the weak characters being saved or manipulated. For Velma's first voice actress, Nicole Jaffe, Velma's strength and independence were a source of pride. Let's see. Quote, I think my character set a good example for girls, unquote, Jaffe said in The Voices of Scooby-Doo in their own words, DVD featurette. Quote, they didn't have to follow around. They could lead. They could have the ideas. That's what I always liked about my character, unquote. Jaffe's feelings were echoed by fellow Velmas, actresses Linda Cardellini and Kate Micucci. Cardellini, who played Velma in the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. Cardellini also spent some time on ER for, I think, a couple of seasons as well in the aughts. Said in an interview promoting the movie, quote, I think she's interesting. I think she's smart. She's independent. She's very capable, unquote. Cardellini also noted the live action challenge for Velma was to show the nerdy investigator's sensitive side and highlight the emotions bottled up from having to do the heavy lifting of the mystery solving for the rest of the game. Micucci, who has voiced Velma in 24 productions, including Be Cool, Scooby-Doo, mentioned her early childhood fandom of Velma at a panel discussion at San Diego Comic-Con. Quote, I've always felt this connection to Velma, unquote, Micucci said, noting her personal resemblance to Velma, especially when wearing glasses. Another interview with Real Talker, Micucci said, quote, in parentheses, Velma was always my favorite, and that's why it's so extra special for me to get to play her. The nerd has now become the cool person. Watch Scooby-Doo on MeTV Tunes, weekdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 Central, 1:30 Pacific, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Pacific. Alrighty then. So there we go with that. So that's all we got for the articles, as it were. So now we're going to, of course, move on to going to get ready to move on to the wrestling wrap up. We're making good time today. We're coming up on 45 minutes here, so that's good to go. Anyways, as we shall continue on here. All right, so let me just. All right, so we're going to look back to last night's Dynamite and look ahead to tonight's Ring of Honor, Honor Club. And on last night's Dynamite, as they're building towards both next week's Blood and Guts event on Dynamite, as well, well, now this coming Wednesday technically, and full gear on the 22nd. It was one of the things that was announced on last night's show too is that AEW will be adding a national title to their title roster. They also do have the women's tag team title tournament going on as well. So last night's Dynamite came from the Bayou Music Center in Houston, Texas, with of course Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Bryan Danielson on commentary. With I believe Tony Storm joining in with them. So first off, as they set up for this coming Wednesday's Blood and Guts, they're going to have both a men's Blood and Guts match and a women's Blood and Guts match. They're having a series of advantage matches in which, much like Survivor Series, or much like a gauntlet match, they kind of go in one at a time, one person, or War Games. That's what it is, War Games. One, basically two people start out, and then a team gets the advantage. And that's what they're. So on last night's show, of course, two men's best of three matches for the advantage. Claudio Castagnoli defeated Orange Cassidy in 12-22, and Darby Allin defeated Daniel Garcia to tie up that series. The final match that set the men's advantage will take place on Collision. Of course, you got the Death Riders team going up against Darby Allin and Conglomeration. In a quarterfinal match for the AEW Women's World Tag Team titles, the Babes of Wrath, Harley Cameron and Will Nightingale, of course, being a former TBS champion, teamed together to defeat the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena and her tag team partner for the tournament here, TBS champion, as well as 12 belt Mercedes Moné. And in the first match of the best of three on the women's side for the advantage, Megan Bain, representing her team, defeated Mina Shirakawa. The other two matches will be on this Saturday's Collision as well. And in the main event, saw in the match for the AEW World Trios titles, the ops of Powerhouse Hobbs, Samoa Joe, and Katsuyori Shibata defeated team of AEW World Champion Adam Page, Eddie Kingston, and Hook. Now, Hook, of course, was a former member of the Ops till he got injured and was replaced by Katsuyori Shibata. And then I guess once he came back, kind of went his own way a bit here. So that's all that happened on last night's. As I mentioned too, they announced the creation of another title, of the national title, which they're trying to link to the old Georgia Championship Wrestling NWA national title. That I think that might be hard, because I know that the NWA, which still is in existence, established. They established a new national title in the 90s, so they may not have that issue. But anyways, now getting ready to move on to looking ahead to tonight's Ring of Honor on Honor Club. On our Honor Club. Talk about that. On tonight's Ring of Honor Club, coming from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida, with Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni on commentary. Satman Singh is set to take on Gino Adonis. A 6-man tag match. The team of the Kingdoms, Mike Bennett and Matt Taven, teaming up with Matt Menard, will take on the team of Skyflight of Top Flight, the Martin brothers, Dante and Darius Martin, and Scorpio Sky, and with, of course, Christopher Daniels and Layla Gray in their corner. The tag team match, the Swirl of Blake Christian and Lee Johnson, will be taking on the team of Willie Mack and Alex Zane. In a match of the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team Championships, Shane Taylor Promotions of Shane Taylor and the Infantry of Carly Bravo and Sean Dean with Anthony Ogogo in their corner take on Beef and the Workhorsemen of Anthony Henry and J.D. Drake. In a women's tag team match, Alex Windsor teams with Yuka Sakazaki to take on Robin Renegade and Taya Valkyrie. The Don Callis family members of Hechicero and Lance Archer with Rocky Romero in their corner will be taking on Orion and the OXP in a proving ground match for the Ring of Honor Pure title, in a match in which the challenger, if he can win or draw in this match, will earn a shot at the Pure title. Lee Moriarty will be taking on Commander. And the main event we'll see in a mixed tag team match. The Death Riders of Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta will be taking on Aaron Solo and Angelica Risk. So there we go with that one. Well, that's all we got for the wrestling wrap-up tonight. So now what we're going to do, of course, we're going to move on to this day in each history. Well, today being Thursday, November 6th, 2025. Let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in each history. History! So 1996, 2000, 2015, and 2010. All right. So first, I'm going to head back to 1996, 29 years ago today. On this date, 29 years ago today, in 1996, the 25th issue of Backlash from Image's Wildstorm imprint went on sale on this date back in 1996. It sold for $3.95, 56 pages. The story was written by Sean Ruffner, co-written and penciled by Brett Booth. Also doing some penciling included Dan Norton and Juwan J. Kirby. The story was inked by Tom McWeeny, Edwin Rosell, Sal Regal, and John Teague. Lettering was done by Christopher P. Eliopoulos, and coloring was done, of course, by Jessica Ruther Booth and Ted Elric. So there we go. So the 25th issue of Backlash from Image's Wildstorm imprint went on sale on this date 29 years ago today. Now moving ahead to the year 2000. Moving ahead to the year 2000. On this date in the year 2000, WWF at the time, known today as WWE, held its Monday Night Raw event from the Compaq Center in Houston, Texas. Now, one of the notable things was this was the Raw that saw the debut of Molly Holly in the WWE. Molly Holly made her debut on this night. Also on the night, in a 2-on-1 handicap match, Kurt Angle and Rikishi and Steve Austin went to a no contest in a 2-on-1 handicap match. In a tables match, the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley, defeated Christian and Edge. Jerry Lawler defeated Raven via DQ, who had Taz in his corner. In a match for the Hardcore Championship, Steve Blackman retained over Kane. The Right to Censor's Bull Buchanan and Godfather with Ivory and Stevie Richards in their corner, defeated the Hardy Boys, who had Lita in their corner, become the new WWF World Tag Team champions. D-Generation X of Billy Gunn, Chyna, Road Dogg, and Triple H defeated the Radicals of Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn. TNA, Albert and Test and Albert with Stratus in the corner defeated Too Cool, Grandmaster Sexay, and Scotty 2 Hotty. The show opened up with Undertaker defeating Val Venus. So that happened 25 years ago today. WWF holding its Monday Night Raw from the Compaq Center in Houston, Texas. Now, moving on to the year 2010, 15 years ago today. On this date, 15 years ago today, the Sunrises OVA, Armored Trooper Votoms, Case Irvine, premiered or was released on this date 15 years ago. So 15 years ago today, Sunrises OVA Armored Trooper Votoms, Case Irvine was released on this date back in the year 2010. And now moving on to the year 2015. On this date in the year 2015. Then I can remember some things here. This date in the year 2015. 10 years ago today, American Greetings, Care Bears and Cousins premiered on Netflix on this date back in 2015. So 10 years ago today, American Greetings, Care Bears and Cousins premiered on Netflix on this date back in the year 2015. So Care Bears and Cousins is an American animated adventure television series released on November 6, 2015 on Netflix, produced by American Greetings Properties and animated by Splash Entertainment. Series is a continuation of previous series. Care Bears, Welcome to Care-a-Lot reintroduces four of the Care Bear cousins, Braveheart Lion, Brightheart Raccoon, Lots of Heart Elephant, and Cozy Heart Penguin. The series was removed from Netflix on November 6th, 2025, exactly 10 years after the show first premiered. Wow. So that was today. They removed it today. Wow. There's some news. All right, so that's all we got for you guys tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back with more news tomorrow, of course. Also, don't forget this Sunday I'll be joined by the Metal from the Vomitorium as we will be taking a look back at comics that went on sale in July 1940, focusing in on comics that went on sale from MLJ magazines, known today as Archie. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.